I think religion's greatest trick wasn't convincing some people that there was a God who was all-powerful. It was convincing everyone else that you couldn't ridicule that idea. It's when you get them. I think there'd be more atheists and less faithful if you weren't allowed to teach anything, you weren't allowed to mention any gods or any beliefs or atheism, right, until they were 20. I think we'd see a different pattern. The human brain, when it's young, is a sponge. It has to be. It has to take in all the information. It has to trust its parents, its elders, to survive. Without question, don't touch the fire. Why not? Don't go near the wolf. Don't touch that spider with a red bit. Don't touch that. Why not? Just don't. There is a God. What? There is a God. And if you're bad, you go to hell. Okay? And if that's constantly confirmed, like all the other things, wolves eat you, black widows kill you, fires burn you, if it's given that same level of credence and truth, you're never going to get over it. It's going to be a lot harder to undo that. I think the myths came up, maybe, often as a stopgap to knowledge until we find out more. The earth is flat, and no, we've proved now, okay, the earth's not flat, we were wrong, okay? But that's not personal. You don't take that personally. It doesn't affect you. It doesn't affect your afterlife, And so they often want to hold on to that, right? But only because of the way they've been conditioned. We know it's fun to tell children there's a Santa Claus, and there's fairies at the bottom of the garden, and all these cute things. It's cute till they're 7 or 8. If they're 34, it's a bit embarrassing socially. If you're born in India, you're probably a Hindu. If you're born in America, you're probably a Christian. If you're born in Pakistan, you're probably a Muslim. That's a coincidence, isn't it? That you're always born into the right God. Always. Isn't that lucky? I was born under the right God. All those others are going to hell. But I was born into the right religion. I'm going to heaven. It's strange that we hold on to these sort of medieval beliefs. I think it's very important you challenge your own beliefs. I mean that's what science does, really. It doesn't constantly try and prove itself right. It follows the evidence, whatever that is. In fact, it tries to prove itself wrong. It doesn't sulk. When science thinks something and then it discovers it was wrong, it doesn't sulk because it found that out too. It's the question I often get, that people say, well, you're an atheist, you're closed-minded. Well, no, I'm not. That's a strange thing to say. I think the opposite is true. I'm going to always follow the evidence, whatever that is. And they say things like, if someone proved to you God existed, would you believe? Well, of course I would, by definition. In fact, it would be the greatest scientific discovery of all time. Scientists would celebrate. They'd run round. At the moment, we have no evidence for the existence of any God or anything supernatural. Never have. Possibly never will. But who knows? I get asked questions like, well, what do you think it feels like when you're dead? And I always say, well, what did it feel like for the billions of years before you were born? Like that. And there's also this strange thing that I get from faithful people. Why don't you believe in God? Well, that's a very strange question. Why don't you believe in God? Well, you came up with it. Why would I? As to saying I don't know, well, if you're agnostic about God in all his glory and in all his impossibility, you've got to be the same about Santa. You have got to say, I don't know. No, I've been an atheist since I was about 8 or 9.
What was the moment that made you into an atheist?
I love Jesus. I love the idea of, I love the idea of Jesus because he was like a superhero. The God bit wasn't so special to me, but I love Jesus because he was kind, and I read the stories in the New Testament about what I thought it was brilliant bloke. Well, that's the way to be. Be like Jesus, And I remember I was doing the Bible studies and stuff, and my brother Bob came in, who was 11 years older than me, so he was about 19, and he just went, why do you believe in God? And my mum went, Bob. And I knew. She was trying to shut him up. And and that was all that happened. And I thought about it. I thought, oh, no, of course there isn't. Of course there isn't. And I was always into science and nature. And I thought, yeah, it doesn't make sense, does it? It doesn't make sense. And, I understand why. At the time it seems like a good lie. To a working class mum, Jesus is an unpaid babysitter. If I'm not watching you, someone is. They do it for good reason. I think, and religion's greatest trick wasn't making people believe there was a God. It was telling you shouldn't ever ridicule the idea that it was sacred to question this dogma, and of course it's not. And as both a scientist, a bit of a philosopher, and a professional comedian, that is so important to me, that nothing's sacred.
Nothing should be beyond a joke.
Well, there's no subject you shouldn't joke about, but it depends on the target. People get offended when they mistake the subject of a joke with the actual target, and they're not necessarily the same. You can do a joke about race without being racist, but people hear the subject come up and they go, oh, no, that's not allowed, that's taboo. And I deal in taboo subjects for that reason, because I want to take the audience to a place it hasn't been before. When I start a routine, I can feel the tension, and then I come down on the right side and everyone gasps and laughs. I've taken them through a scary forest, and that's what humour's for. It's to make us laugh at bad things. That's what it's for. It's to get us over bad shit.
Because anyone who follows you on Twitter, and you have a huge following, they'll know that you are a pathological atheist, and therefore the thought of death is very final for you. And for me, as a good Irish Catholic boy, it's the start of something new and glorious. For you, that's it.
For me, it's the end of something glorious, so I have to pack it all in. But, I'm not depressed about it. I don't want to die any more than anyone else. And I think there's this strange myth that atheists have nothing to live for. It's the opposite. We have nothing to die for.
You have more to live for.
We have everything to live for.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would imagine you have a more focused attention to life because you think it ends when you die.
I think it's precious. I think it's beautiful. I think the world is amazing. I love people, animals, art, every hobby. I can't believe my luck that I'm alive for these 70 or 80 years. Might be less. Wait, I'm not long for this world. My nan used to say that. She lived till 83. I think it was 40 years we were going, I'm not long for this world.
What are you said the things you like. What are the things that really annoy you?
Only two things really, really make my blood boil, I suppose. I suppose in general, as I get older, injustice. Injustice quietly makes my blood boil. Either personal, social, political, personal. I suppose the two main categories are religious intolerance, this arrogance that you think, arguing over whose God is right, sort of gets me down a little bit, and I've got no problem with spirituality. I really haven't. That's another myth, and I always try and make the difference clear between spirituality and religion. One is a very personal feeling, a journey, a hope, or whatever, a need, a joy, and the other is an organised body that uses that for power and corruption in many cases. In many cases. And I don't have either, but I suppose I think that when it affects me, that's when I have a say in it. And religion affects me. Religion's very real. Spirituality doesn't really affect me.
See, I find it's an irony, isn't it, when the people that attack you on Twitter for challenging them about their religious beliefs, they show this total disrespect to you for what is your belief. Your belief is you're an atheist and you just don't happen to believe in a deity or a god. I can respect that completely, whilst choosing myself to have a different belief.
Of course. And one of the best tweets I've ever had is, everyone is entitled to their opinion, so keep quiet about your atheism. The beautiful irony in that is wonderful,
It should be irrelevant, but it isn't, because it does infringe on people's liberties. Certainly religion, not spirituality. Someone believing in God, that's fine.
Harmless.
Absolutely, doesn't bother me at all.
Religion isn't harmless. It's when your God starts telling you that you should kill homosexuals, and
Exactly.
that's when it's not harmless anymore.
No, I'm just being honest. I mean, I can't see there could be a God. I mean, spirituality and religion are two different things. Don't forget. I can't make myself believe something I don't believe. I wish there was a God. And I wish he was all the things people said he was, all powerful and kind and all that. But by definition, the impossibility is overwhelming to me. And then there's religions which use that truth for their own personal gain, and that's something else, and that's abhorrent and disgusting. Religious fascism is the only thing apart from animal cruelty that gets my blood boiling. But people believing in God doesn't worry me at all. I live by Christian values, I suppose. I live by, or any religious values that preaches forgiveness and do as you would be done by, and I just do it for different reasons. I do it because I think this is my only time on earth, and I should enjoy it and be part of it and celebrate it and be nice to everyone, because we're animals who need to be loved and lead a decent life. If you believe in God and that gets you through and it makes you a nicer person, then so be it. But I don't believe. And I feel sometimes that atheists, and I am atheist, not agnostic. One of the few things I'm sure of in life. I think they get a bad press that we take the art out of beauty and the world, which is not true. The fact that, the Earth is 4.6 billion years old, and, there are 4 million species of animal, and they've evolved by accident, is, I think, more beautiful than any...
You guys asked for him a third time, and here he is, man. The man who was made atheism not just persuasive, but hilarious as well. Though, as you have noticed in this video, he maintains a calmer, serious demeanor because he is not under any pressure to have a punchline at the end of his sentences. Anyway, after the roaring success of our previous deep dives into George Carlin and Bill Burr's takedowns of religion, it is time, ladies and gentlemen, to talk about our favorite Ricky Gervais a third time, man. He is, without a doubt, the smug, sarcastic, and undeniably brilliant comedian who has become, I believe, one of the most fearless voices in modern atheism and societal issues at large. And even though it's not quite obvious in today's video, Gervais doesn't usually just question religion, man. He mocks it relentlessly, unapologetically, and with the kind of cheeky grin that usually makes even believers laugh before they realize that they've been mocked. And like most other atheists, his arguments aren't just about mocking. At least that is what I firmly believe, man. They are basically about exposing the sheer absurdity of faith with a punchline. Just in this case, a punchline so sharp it leaves dogma bleeding on the floor. And his audiences, including you, ladies and gentlemen, love him for it. I certainly do as well. Now, think about his infamous Golden Globes monologue, man, where he roasted Hollywood elites and religious hypocrites with equal glee, man. Gervais didn't tiptoe around sacred cows, man. He slaughtered them on stage and served them up as satire. His closing statement, if you guys remember, was, "And I thank God for making me an atheist." Anyway, here's the thing. Gervais isn't just a provocateur, man. He is a thinker as well. His atheism isn't lazy rebellion. It is rooted in a simple, unshakable commitment to reality, basically. Like Christopher Hitchens, in interviews and debates, Gervais has distilled his argument into a single devastating question that he usually asks. Name one moral action performed by a believer that couldn't be done by an atheist. And one immoral action that is justified by scripture that an atheist couldn't reject. Usually followed by silence, man, anytime I ask that. And that is the sound of religious logic collapsing under its own weight, man. And also, let's not forget the invention of flying, which is his underrated comedy that skewers religion as basically the ultimate con. In the movie, there's basically a world where no one can lie, and Gervais's character accidentally invents deception and soon realizes he can use it to comfort his dying mother by inventing the idea of heaven. It's a brilliant, biting allegory of how religious dogmas usually prey on fear and wishful thinking. And of course, the twist in this movie is that his lying basically spirals out of control, creating dogma, rules, and even a man in the sky who hates certain people, which sounds eerily familiar, don't you guys think, man? Anyway, what makes Gervais so effective and why audiences cheer him on alongside the likes of George Carlin and Bill Burr is that he weaponizes humor to say the exact thing that most others around the world want. While new atheists like Dawkins and Hitchens went to war with theology, Gervais simply laughs at it. And laughter, as he has proven, is kryptonite to authority and dogma. When people start giggling at the idea of a 6,000-year-old earth or a virgin birth, faith basically loses its intimidation factor. It becomes what it always was, man, a fairy tale. And that is the exact effectiveness that he brings to atheism, man. Anyway, I really hope that you've enjoyed this video as much as I did putting it together, man. I really hope that you'll join me for the video that I create the day after tomorrow, or maybe tomorrow, if I manage to get it out as fast as I intend to. Other than that, thank you for joining me today. I really hope that you're safe. Remember to hug your loved ones, let them know you love them as much as you do, and I'll see you in the video that I post next, man. Stay safe in the meantime. Peace, man.